So a couple of weeks ago, I recorded a video about flyweights that need to be on Dana White's Contender Series in 2023 with the kind of condition of flyweights that I think should be on Dana White's Contender Series, and also just prospects in general that you should look out for. But for the most part, everyone on this list could go on Dana White's Contender Series, and I think everyone would think that they would be a great prospect. And I'm just going to continue that with the Bantamweight division. I do apologize, I'm really tired right now. It's the 2nd of January as I record this. I just spent the last 4 days over at some crazy festival. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen it. But yeah, man, I'm ready to move on and talk about bantamweights and every other division. I just don't want to be surprised about Dana White's Contender Series. But with that being said, I know I would have missed prospects. There will be guys that I don't know about. There would have been guys that I didn't find. So if you've got prospects that I've missed out on in this video, let me know in the comments below. I really would appreciate it. But let's just start off with as I did in the flyweight video. The first 4 guys here are guys that have fought on Dana White's Contender Series in the past, and I think that have earned themselves another opportunity. So the first one is Gafarov. In my opinion, this guy's a lock. This guy's a lock to be on Dana White's Contender Series. I mean, there's absolutely no way he won't be. He's 18-4 at this point. He, in my opinion, won the fight against Chad Ankalaga. I'm not too sure how I feel about that decision, but since then he's fought 2 very good opponents over at LFA. I believe he's also the champion at LFA right now as well. And a lot of LFA guys tend to be in the UFC, so let's go Gafarov. The next one is Luis Rodriguez, 15-2 record. He's also gone on a win streak since losing to... Tough loss to have Jerome Rivera on Dana White's Contender Series a couple of years ago, but since then he's bounced back with a couple of pretty good wins, 6-1, 5-0, 5-1, and a 6-5 guy, probably just to get his confidence back. But I believe he's ready for Dana White's Contender Series, 15-2 record. He's only 23 years old. He'll be a young prospect, a young sign-in. Another one is Junior Cortez. This guy here, 6-2 record, but he is actually Tracy Cortez's brother, which I think really would help his chances in getting into the UFC, getting onto Dana White's Contender Series. He did fight on Dana White's Contender Series in 2021, and he lost to Christian Rodriguez, but since then he has beaten a 3-1 opponent, and he has tried to fight this guy called Ricardo Fuentes a couple of times, and it just hasn't quite worked out. So I think maybe with one more win, he could definitely be on Dana White's Contender Series, but he's also Tracy Cortez's brother, and I think that could definitely help his chances of getting on Dana White's Contender Series again. The next one here is Mando Gutierrez. He was on just last year, actually, in 2022, and he lost to Raul Rosas Jr., and actually a pretty competitive decision, and in hindsight, that's not a bad look, considering Raul Rosas Jr. just completely dominated Jay Perrin, you know what I mean? And Mando Gutierrez, he's not a bad fighter. He had a competitive fight with Raul Rosas Jr. I know losing to an 18-year-old isn't really the best look whatsoever for a UFC scout, but Raul Rosas Jr. is like a great fighter, you know what I mean, and he's going to go pretty far. Mando Gutierrez also did knock someone out recently, so I think maybe with just one more win, Mando Gutierrez back on Dana White's Contender Series, maybe he's earned himself a shot back already. The next one that I want to talk about is Sean Gorsey. He's from Australia. UFC 284 is coming up very soon. I don't think Sean Gorsey is going to get signed for that card because he does actually have a fight taking place in February, but one thing we have noticed is the UFC definitely does need more Australian fighters on the roster, because a couple of Australian fighters have dropped out, and now they don't really have anyone to replace them with. So if they want to go back to Australia in 2024, they're going to need more Australians on the roster. Sean Gorsey would be a pretty good addition. I do think he's going to win his next fight, and he will be 8-1. Going into Dana White's Contender Series, could be 9-1 by the end of it. Thiago Gomez Manzur, 7-0. This guy is a special prospect, only 23 years old. I rate him very highly. He's beaten the great fighter Pipe Vargas. I feel like Pipe Vargas is a very underrated guy. He only has losses to really good fighters, and Thiago Gomez Manzur is one of them, and he's also just got a couple of good wins recently. First round finishes over a 4-0 opponent and a 6-4 opponent. He's 23 years old. I think he's ready for Dana White's Contender Series. You know, I think he's a great fighter. I think he's going to be making rapid improvements at 23 years old as well. The next fighter to be talking about is Michele Martignoni. He's from Italy. There's been rumours, nothing really confirmed, nothing really talked about too much about UFC coming to Italy. I understand that Marvin Vettori really wants to headline a card in Italy. UFC's actually said that they are pretty interested in it as well, but they just haven't really found a venue or this and that. But the point is they probably don't even have enough Italian fighters on the roster anyway. So I think Michele Martignoni would be a very good addition, get more Italian fighters on the roster so you can do a fight night in Italy with maybe Marvin Vettori headlining. Could be a pretty cool idea, and also he's also coming off a very important win over Dominic Wooding, who was actually meant to be on Dana White's Contender Series last year. So yeah, Michele Martignoni, a great fighter. I think he'll be a good addition. Rafael Dos Nascimento is 8-1, potentially a show-in, like someone that's definitely going to be on Dana White's Contender Series. He's in LFA. He's beaten some really good opponents in Justin Wetzel and Marcus McGee, and his one loss was actually a disqualification. So technically undefeated, I guess. So yeah, Rafael Dos Nascimento, I think he would be a great addition to Dana White's Contender Series as well. Felipe Lima, another Brazilian guy. He was actually meant to fight on a road to UFC, on one of those sort of bonus road to UFC fights in the semi-finals. Off the top of my head, I can't actually remember where they were taking place. In Abu Dhabi, UFC 280, that's right. Zhao Long, it says an undisclosed injury. I actually think that he did get sick and it was COVID related, but the next fighter on the list is Zhao Long, or Long Zhao. Let's get them just. Let's rebook the fight for Dana White's Contender Series. The winner gets a UFC contract. Makes the most sense to me. Long Zhao's a guy that UFC wants. I can tell you that's almost a fact. He fought on Dana White's Contender Series 2021. He lost. He come back, fought a couple of opponents, and he was booked to fight Min-Woo Kim on the road to UFC tournament. I think that was when he got sick actually, and then I think he got injured for the Lima fight. Sorry, I think I might be wrong on that, but the point is he missed out on the Min-Woo Kim fight. And then he was going to fight Felipe Lima in a bonus fight, and he missed out on the opportunity. So I can just tell the UFC wants Long Zhao, they really do. So Dana White's Contender Series, here we come. Book him against Felipe Lima, that's who was originally meant to fight. I think it makes sense to me. The next one is Tatsuya Ando, a Japanese fighter with a 13-3 record. This guy has fought some really good level of competition. He's actually one of the guys that I predicted to be on road to UFC. He actually wasn't. But this guy has beaten some really good opponents. One of them is Ryo Ikeda. He had a draw with him early on in his career, then defeated him. The 15-3 Hayato Ishii. He did lose to a veteran fighter by injury recently. This guy has been on a great run over great opponents. Let's just rattle off the records of his opponents. 17-5, 15-3. Injury lost to a 27-16 opponent. 11-1, 15-4, 10-4, 10-3. And if you go down a little bit further, he beat Kevin Kroom, who did actually end up in the UFC at somewhat recently as well. So, Tatsuya Ando, let's just make it happen. Dana White's Contender Series. He's 32 years old. He's got to make something happen now. UFC also wants more Japanese fighters. I think it makes the most sense to me. The next one is Khurshid Nazarov. He's from, I believe, Tajikistan. Off the top of my head, he is from Tajikistan. Tajikistan fans go crazy, man. Like, they had a Tajikistan guy on Dana White's Contender Series in 2022, and people went crazy, man. I believe my video got a lot of views, but a lot of comments with the flag, Tajikistan's flag, all over Instagram. Everyone's getting hyped up. I think maybe it could be a good area to sign guys from, you know what I mean? Because the people really get behind him, but he is from ACA. He's not in, like, the ACA official sort of thing, but he is a ACA signed guy, and ACA I believe is doing like a crazy tournament next year, so maybe he's not really that good of an option really, because he might be more interested in staying at ACA, but he has beaten a lot of guys by decision. But yeah, 9-0, 22 years old at bantamweight, I think it makes a little bit of sense to me. And the last one here for this sort of session, because my laptop can't handle that many tabs being opened at once, is Rickson Tai Zenedine, 13-0 from Brazil. He's beaten some pretty iffy competition, but he's also beaten some really good competition. You know, early on in his career, it's a little bit sketchy. Guys that don't have Tapology pages, debuting guys, losing records, this and that. And then he gets to about 10-0, and he starts doing side missions. He starts doing custom rules matches. He's done a grappling match. And then he beat a couple of really good opponents in 9-5, 9-3, and did a BM knuckle boxing fight. And then he's going to be fighting Rodrigo Vera as a 14-1 opponent at over this FFC promotion. That's going to be a pretty big fight, because I believe the winner of this one gets the UFC call of Dana White's Contender Series call. Because at the end of the day, the winner's going to be either 15-1 or 14-0. Like, they've put the work in on the regional scene. They've built up a really good career. It's going to be such a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. But I think that Rickson Tai Zenedine is going to come out on top of me 14-0 going into Dana White's Contender Series. So I'm going to just kind of have an awkward break, and I'll be back when my laptop has calmed down. And as we carry on, we've got Hanat Kavalov here, which might be a little bit of an iffy pick here. 7-0, but he's the Eagle FC champion. I don't know if Khabib's going to want to keep him around, you know what I mean, and build a name out of him, but I think maybe coming out of Eagle FC could be pretty good advertisements for Eagle FC, especially if he does quite well. 7-0. He's fought very good opponents. Ramazan Amaev, 10-3 opponent as well in Hina Ondar. Another 7-0 opponent. Sharapudin Magomedov, not Sharapudin Magomedov as well. He's beaten him. He was undefeated at the time as well. 24 years old. Another great prospect. We move on to Alphonse Rocher Labez, 9-2 fighter from France. UFC wants to come to France every year. I think they said that they want to make it a yearly event in Paris after the success of the Gane versus Tuivasa fight night. So let's start finding and signing more French fighters. 9-2. Labez here could be a pretty good option as well. He's a bantamweight, obviously, bantamweight list, but he's from France as well. And we've got another Italian fighter called Francisco Nuzzi. Once again, UFC's, like, they're rumors, they're not really confirmed or anything. It's nothing really too concrete. But I do believe UFC does want to come to Italy. So if they're going to do that, they're going to need more Italian fighters on the roster, as I said before. Francisco Nuzzi, 9-1 from Italy. I believe he's quite young as well. He's 26 years old. He's fought pretty good fighters, and he did fight on PFL, but it was a no contest. And the guy that he fought was from France. His name is this guy coming up. If my computer decides to load, Mokhtar Benkassi is 20-7, very experienced fighter, but he's from France. As I said, he's 29 years old as well. He's pretty young. And the UFC is going to want more French fighters, Italian fighters, if they want to kind of expand into that market. So I think it could be a signing that makes sense. Dylan Hazan, another Italian fighter that just makes sense to sign. He's 9-0. UFC wants to sign more Italian fighters. Let's make it happen. He is a bantamweight. He fought in Cage Warriors recently as well, which is a pretty big regional promotion. And he's fought good fighters there as well, 12-3, 9-4, and 11-5 opponents, respectively. So he's undefeated as well from Italy. Could make a name out of him. Put him on the Italian fight night card if they're going to do it, maybe in 2024. And the next one is from England, Adam Bramhald. He's 12-2, 28 years old. He's fought some pretty good levels of competition, but also some very iffy competition as well. 12-2, Konstantin Aniev over at Cage Steel, which is a promotion I hadn't really heard of until I come along here. He's fought good guys, but also not great guys. Like Luke Shank's a pretty good fighter. Aside from that, everyone he's beaten is pretty iffy, but that's what Dana White's Contender Series is for. Let's find out if he's really as good as his record says he is. The next one is a Georgian fighter. UFC's going to want to expand to Georgia, I believe, because they've got so many top Georgian prospects right now, and it would just make sense to start signing some more. So Atar Tanzilov is this next one here. He's fought some very good opponents in UAE Warriors, 9-4 opponent at the time. A couple of undefeated guys as well. Well, one undefeated guy, one debuting guy, but you get what I mean. Undefeated, 8-0 himself, and I think maybe he could be ready for a Dana White's Contender Series shot. Next one is Sultan Joroshbek. He's 18-2. I think he's going to win his next one, so it's to make him 19-2. Maybe just someone the UFC just needs to sign straight up. Yeah, he fights for Niza FC, which is based in Kazakhstan. So yeah, maybe a guy that UFC should start looking into signing. He's going to be 19-2 soon, in my opinion, which would be crazy. The next one, which I'm waiting on to load, is Ali Talib. This is an iffy one. I could be wrong, but I feel like PFL's picked him up for something, for the PFL European card. Am I correct in saying that? But PFL doesn't have a 135 division standard anyway. But he did beat the lock dog, Vinicius de Oliveira, who's a very, very good fighter. And then he did fight an undefeated fighter for PFL. I believe it would have been on like their prelims or something like that. Ali Talib, UFC ready guy, in my opinion. But maybe he's fighting for PFL, so it could be a bit of a sketchy one. Next one is Ari Farias. He's 33 years old, so he's pretty old for bantamweight, but he is 12-3. I think he's going to beat John Sweeney, but if John Sweeney manages to beat him in the main event of LFA 150, put John Sweeney on this list and take Ari Farias off, because John Sweeney's on a pretty good win streak right now. Not really over the best competition in the world, but he is pretty good on the mic as John Sweeney. So I think maybe he's a guy that UFC should definitely have a look at. The next one is Askar, who's 14-3. He's fought some pretty good opponents. One of his losses actually has come to Justin Wetzel, who's a very good prospect, and Saidjokim Kakramonov, who's in the UFC, and Diego Silva, who is a pretty good fighter himself. I believe Diego Silva just fought Yuma Horiuchi. No, a fighter that was on this list, Moin Gafarov. I'm pretty sure Diego Silva just fought Moin Gafarov. Anyway, the point is Askar, he's only on a one-fight win streak, but he's always been around, and he's always had competitive fights. Two pretty good fighters. I know Saidyokub knocked him out in 40 seconds, but he's still a great fighter, Askar. Maybe not a guy that gets the shot in 2023, but maybe moving on. Another guy that might not get the shot in 2023, but a guy to keep your eye on is Nkosi Ndebele. UFC is definitely going to want to start to move into the South African market. I believe they've got Dricus du Plessis, who's going to be in the top 10. I think he's in the top 10 right now, actually, in middleweight. There's talk of him potentially headlining a card in South Africa. Could do something in Cape Town, I believe, is the biggest city there. I could be wrong. But if we're going to do that, we need more South African fighters signed to the UFC so we can build a card around them. And Nkosi Ndebele is a pretty good option in my opinion. He's 6-1. He's fought some pretty good opponents here. 4-1, 7-2, 6-2. All for Brave CF, and Brave CF may not be too keen on letting him go, because I believe that Muhammad Makayev was signed to Brave CF, but for UFC to sign Muhammad Makayev, they had to pay Brave CF for Makayev's contract, so we'll see what happens there. Another French fighter, Yanis Gamori, 11-1 record here. He's a bantamweight as well, obviously, because this is the bantamweight list. He also fights for Brave CF. He's fought some pretty good opponents as well recently, 8-1, 9-3, and 10-5. He's from France. UFC wants more French fighters because they're going to want to come back to France every year. So, Yanis Gamori, let's sign him as well. And next one is Austin Bashi, who I believe might be like one of my only American fighters that I've got on this list, which is kind of crazy. But if you've got any fighters from USA that should be on this list, please do let me know. Austin Bashi's 8-0. He's only 21 years old. He's super young. And he's fighting pretty good competition for these regional promotions that I'm not super familiar with. XFC has a XFC in Australia and New Zealand, which is kind of cool. Or maybe it's XMMA. Maybe I'm just a really stupid person. But Shamrock FC has put on a lot of shows. They've always pretty good prospects coming out of Shamrock FC. And then he's fighting for this Lights Out Championship, which is a new up-and-coming promotion, it looks like. And he's fighting good guys. 8-1, 9-3. 21 years old, you can really build this guy into something special. So I like Austin Bashi as well. But that's everything. So if you want to let me know if there's anyone that I've missed and stuff like along those sort of lines, I'm sorry for the low quality sort of video because I'm really tired right now. I'm recovering from this festival, man. Like, oh dude, it was crazy. That yeah, I got like no sleep. I slept in a tent. Just wild times, man. Wild times. That if you follow my Instagram, you would have seen my stories. It was a pretty good time. And yeah, let me know. If there's anyone I missed, please let me know in the comments again. I believe I've already said that about 3 or 4 times. But I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to try and get on the hustle over the next couple of days because it's public holidays. I don't have work over the next couple of days. So I'm going to try and start making a lot of content. So definitely look forward to that. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.